noticed there's someone else in the room. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Ashley Carter. I'm a writer for Nottingham and documentary maker. I run a company called these City Lights, which works with sport institutes like Derby County and Notts County and create digital content websites. But I guess I'm mostly here to talk to you today about writing. I think with like any creative job in Nottingham, you split your work into two different things. The stuff that you like to do that you don't get paid for, and the stuff that you don't like to do that you do get paid for. So when it comes to writing, I have to do a lot of copywriting for websites, blog writing, press releases, you know, stuff like that, in order to be able to write the things that I want to do, like a blog and, most importantly, leftlion. So I don't know if you know leftlion at all, but it's a cultural magazine that focuses entirely on the creative community in Nottingham. It's been running since 2003. It's completely free. Its readership is currently at about 15,000, which compared to the Nottingham Post used to be, I think the Nottingham Post used to be about 40 or 50,000, and that's dropping now to about 20. Because basically, print media is obsolete. You know, when was the last time any of you read anything for the first time in newspapers? You've seen it on your phone and online a dozen times before you even got the paper at home. Newspapers just aren't. In terms of getting news, newspapers aren't the first source anymore. So when leftlion is ahead of Nottingham Post is because they have exclusive content about individual creative projects going in Nottingham that aren't anywhere else. So directors, musicians, theatre, stuff like that. It's expected to overtake the readership of Nottingham Post in the next 4 to 5 years. And literally exactly a year ago, it ran a Kickstarter campaign for £10,000. It ended up getting 11.5 to go monthly to bi-monthly, which it hadn't since 2003. Yes.
Sorry, what does that mean?
Every 2 months.
Oh.
So for the first like 11 years, it came out every 2 months, and as of last year, it comes out every month now. It's delivered to over 350 venues in Nottingham, which is, this is one of them, is it? It used to be, but it's not anymore. But it's like cafes, cinemas, you know, pubs. There's loads of places across Nottingham you can find it, and it's got over 100 contributors. Yeah, like I say, the reason it's thriving is because the print media is becoming obsolete. It's free, it's delivered straight to the venue, the material's not time sensitive, and the content is focused entirely on the creative community in Nottingham, which outside of London, like I'm sure you're all aware of this, but Nottingham has one of the biggest, if not the biggest, creative community outside of Nottingham, outside of London rather. So that's filmmakers, you know, musicians, theatre, artists. It's massive. I think the main strength as a writer, as a writer writing for leftlion, I think the best thing about it is that literally everyone, apart from one person, works for free. The editor, Ali, who's worked for the paper since it started, is the only paid member of staff there. So that's over 100 writers, designers, artists, photographers, graphic designers, delivery people, admin staff, all work for free every month to make a new magazine. The reason I see that as a good thing is because it shows that everyone that works there has got a vested interest in making the magazine good and being actively involved in Nottingham's community, creative community. You know that no one's there just to pick up a check, or it's just not another job for the people. They all have a genuine passion in what they're doing. They all really want to make sure that Nottingham's artists are getting as much exposure as possible. And I see that as a good thing. Ugh. Yeah, I think if any of you are looking to get into writing, the reason I like writing for leftlion, which I've done for, I've lived in Nottingham for 6 years, I've written for leftlion for 5 of them, is because the editor now, Ali, used to be the film editor, I write mostly for the film section. And she was a new mum, single mum, and she worked 2 jobs as well as running leftlion. And literally every article I put in, she always take the time to give me feedback on what I could do better, or what I did wrong, what was good about it, or encouraging me to keep my style, but also educating me on how I should be writing better. And I think that's a massive thing that I didn't get for writing for other people. Because writing's kind of a binary thing with other people. They either tell you that it's good or tell you that it's bad, whereas I find that everyone at leftlion has always taken the time to tell me how I can improve. It's also a great forum for writing honestly. Like the average film review meant to be about 500 words, but if I really, really hate a film, they'll let me write for 1,500, which is great. I've never once been censored there at all. I've never had anything changed other than for like grammar reasons, because I'm still, my grammar's kind of awful considering this is my actual job. But I used to write for the Nottingham Post for 2 years. They found some articles I've written for Leftlion and asked me if I wanted to write opinion pieces, which I did for a couple of years. I ended up quitting because basically I think the articles that are in the Nottingham Post compared to Leftlion, when you read Leftlion you can distinctly see who's written each piece. It's got a very clear idea of that person's identity, whereas the Nottingham Post, you'd spend an afternoon writing an article about something, you'd submit it, and by the time you went and bought the newspaper the next week, it had been changed so much that it didn't feel like it was your opinion, but it felt like it was written in someone else's words. All those, you know when you read a newspaper, it's all sharp, short, informative sentences with no kind of natural flow to them. So I kind of, I mean, it was great to go and buy a newspaper and see your face in it. I mean, for anyone's ego, that's kind of a nice thing, but when your writing's being chopped and changed so much, it made me want to quit, basically. So that's one of the great things about Leftlion. You always keep your writing as you want it to be. So the things that Leftlion covers are there's art section, community section, literature, music, sports, stage, and like I say, I write for screen. So at Leftlion Screen, the editor Harry, and there's me, and there's probably about 20 other writers. We review films first and foremost. So that's everything from your big James Bond blockbusters, everything down to short films that are being made locally. Opinion pieces about sort of the state of the film industry at the moment. We promote and preview events that are going on. Interviews with Nottingham talent like Shane Meadows and Jeannie Finley and people like that. If you're a short filmmaker, if you've just graduated or whatever and you've made your first short film, we'll put the link up there so you can get views and feedback from people. If you're sort of the next level up and you're starting to do your first crowdfunding campaigns on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, we'll interview you and put a little article about that to help you try and raise some money. We'd like to cover events, so screenings that are going on if you're having a screening for your film or anything. And as of this year, we've started hosting some of our own screening some films, sort of old films that we like ourselves. So I think why this is important to the Nottingham film community depends sort of on what level you're on. So I'm sure you're all aware that the Nottingham film community basically is, you've got the big directors, like I say, Shane Meadows, Jeannie Finley, Steve Shield, people like that. And you've got the film clubs, I don't know how aware you are of people like Neil Before Zards and Strange Things That Happen in these sort of pockets of film fans that put on nights around the city. And there's festivals like, did anyone go to the Mayhem Festival this year? It's the biggest horror festival in the UK. Well, I think it's one of them, is it? Yeah. There's film nights going on all the time. Skaterama, which again I'm not sure if you know about, but it's a nationwide cinema event that Nottingham had the most amount of screens in the UK outside of London. We had about 35 on, Leftlion put about 6. Then there's network events like Tweet Up and Shooters that go on every month. And then one-off showcases like, I know the Being Suitier, some of the films in Suitier had a showcase in the Rough Trade recently, and different universities streaming short films. Leftlion will always try and cover as many of those things as we can. So if you're one of the top directors, we'll interview you about your new film, about when it's going to be on TV, etc. All the way down to sort of if you're a student and you made a short film, like I say, we'll link it to the website, we'll review it, we'll try and give it as much interest as we can. So how we interact with the creative community is, I always see it's like we act as a gap, as a bridge between either the film and an audience, or the director and the film. So if you're a director and you're trying to raise money, we'll act as a bridge between you and getting that money. Or if you've made a film, we'll act as a bridge between the film and the audience. So we're basically letting people know about the work we've made. Because I think the biggest problem with the film community, or one of the biggest problems, is that a lot of people know how to make films, but people don't really know what to do with them afterwards. So some of the most talented filmmakers and some of the best films I've ever seen are just sitting on people's desktops because they don't know how to get to an audience. So it kind of, how it starts is, so I watched a documentary last year called Operation Oman, which is it's a feature documentary by a guy from Nottingham whose dad fought in a conflict in the 70s in Oman. made a feature documentary about it. And how it works is it's basically building blocks to getting people to know about your film. You start by getting an article in Leftlion or the Nottingham Post, and then you take that to Broadway Cinema and say, look, we've had an article here, it's got 10, 15,000 views. There's definitely an interest in this film. Can you put a screening on? And they say yes, hopefully. And then we took it to the British Legion and said, look, we've got a screening at Broadway, is there any chance you can endorse the film, and then you can get some of the proceeds. And then once that happens, you go to BBC Radio Nottingham, or you go to East Midlands Today, and they get interested. And that all helps promote the screening, which luckily we sold out. And then we can go to Derby and do the same there, and then you basically spread around the country. And after that, you can take it to distribution, you can try and sell it to a network, or it's just getting press attention for your film adds an air of legitimacy to it, and also acts as the first building block into getting it to where you want to be. So that's where Leftlion can hopefully help with films in the future. Yeah, so like I say, I kind of see Nottingham's creative industry as kind of like a small ecosystem where everyone's kind of trying to help each other. Leftlion, the longer I've written for Leftlion, the more they've tried to do to help sort of local talent, to nurture as much local talent as they can and just help people along the way. So if Like if I went to see, like I saw a film last week called Burnt, which was literally the worst film I've ever seen in my life. So I spent like 1,000 words on it, just slagging it off because it was just fun to do. But if it had been like a student's film from Nottingham, there'd be no point in doing that. Like you wouldn't go and coat a film off that you didn't think was good, because there's no point. Everyone's first films stink. It's just the way it is. Like I wrote for 5 years before I wrote anything I was happy with. It's just creativity's like that. You just start badly because you're meant to. So you try to be more encouraging to local talent. And it's not in a patronising way. It's just you just want to nurture as much local talent as you can. You want them to be confident, and you want them to keep on making things. And it's always as well about getting to the next step. We want to try and help you get to the next step. So, like I say, if you're a student filmmaker and you want to make your first short film, looking for funding, we can help advertise the fact you're looking for funding. If you've made a short film and you want to gain an audience and want to make a feature film, we can help you gain an audience, and so on. And that's kind of been our commitment for the last few years. Yes?
Have you ever had somebody that had came to you and you'd helped them and then they became really successful?
Say again, sorry?
Have you ever helped somebody from the left line and then they became really successful?
So what do you mean someone from the left, like someone that worked for the left line?
There's somebody that came to you with their film and you helped them.
Oh yeah.
Don't eager to name drop.
Well, I mean,
no, it's not.
Personally for me, I think the biggest, do you know Jeannie Finlay, the documentary maker? She's one of the biggest documentary makers in the UK, and she's from Nottingham. She works at Broadway still, and we've been supporting her since her first film came out, since Goth Cruise came out. Her film was on BBC, I think it was BBC 2 this week. Orion, The Money Would Be King, which if you haven't seen, it's on iPlayer at the minute. I think it's the best film to ever come out of Nottingham. So yeah, she's someone who I was lucky enough to interview her last month about that. So it's someone who we've supported the entire time. Yeah, I mean, like I say, it's because she's based at Broadway. Also, Stephen Shields, another one, is her husband actually, is a horror director. He made Mum and Dad and Deadline. He's one of the people who runs Mayhem Festival. Again, we've been regularly supporting him, Mayhem, and everything he does sort of since he started. Yeah. So yeah, there's a few people. I mean, it's weird because I don't know. It's hard to know how well people like that are known. Obviously, because I work in Nottingham, I hear their names all the time. But when I went to, I was in London recently at the BFI in South Bank, and there's a big display of Jeannie Finlay's DVD. So I kind of thought, yeah, that's kind of cool that she is well known. Like I say, the film was on BBC and stuff like that. And she's won like a dozen festivals in America. This film's like doing really, really well. And so I see the ecosystem of Nottingham and why everyone needs to be supporting each other, and not just supporting people below you, but like say at my level, I need the help of people who are making feature films, and then the people below me need the help from me to be able to get kit and stuff like that. It works. You're always looking for help from above and always trying to help those below. And the reason that breaks down, in my experience, is when people don't realise that they're part of like the Nottingham creative industry is one thing, and when you're doing something, you're a part of it. And that comes with a certain responsibility. So I've worked on films, like I worked on a film a couple of years ago, which is where I first met Sarah, where the guy that was running it was basically an egomaniac. He was out of his mind. He was the writer, the producer, the actor, and I worked for him for about 4 months. and he sold it basically on a lie that this film was going to be about knife crime and about helping people, and it was going to be made for free. And it was all just a lie, it was all just bollocks, so he could raise $5 grand to make this film. Yeah, like I say, I worked for him for about 3 months, and it came down to the set, and it was the most negative, awful atmosphere I've ever been involved in the set. Obviously, when you're making a film, the producer or the director, you set the tone for everyone. If you're in a good mood, it trickles down. If you're in a bad mood, it trickles down. He was just a psychopath the entire time. He was swearing at people, shouting at people. He wouldn't. The one guy that was working there, a friend of mine, he wouldn't talk to him unless he squeaked like a mouse. Like he made this guy walk around pretending to be a mouse. Then one day we were, as one of the production assistants, it was my job to try and find a police car. And at that time, there was only one company in Nottingham, or in the East Midlands, I think, that could provide one. And the budget was about £5 for the entire film. So this guy wanted 600 or 700 quid for a police car for one night. So basically, I rang him probably 40 times. They just got sick of me calling him, and I eventually agreed to give it us for nothing, as long as we paid like the driver's wages, which was like 40 or 50 quid. So this guy turns up on the night, it was an amazing thing for him to do. Like I say, that's all part of the Nottingham film community. People always want to do other people favours, and they're always, trying to help each other if they can. This guy turned up on the night, and the psychopath actor producer guy had thrown a fit because he'd lost his lucky T-shirt, which he didn't need for filming, but he lost his T-shirt. So we were 5 hours behind schedule. This guy had been waiting there. He got there at 10 PM. It was now, I think it was like 3:30 in the morning. The guy was still waiting there. No one had offered him a drink. No one had said hello to him. So basically, after about 8 hours, this guy finally gave up. They used the car. I think they got one shot before the guy gave up and went home. And now, as a result of that, that guy refuses point blank to work with any short film in Nottingham now, regardless of whether you're paying his rates, whether you're doubling his rates, regardless, he will not work with any of the short films. That experience was so bad. So because of one dickhead, basically, losing his lucky T-shirt and having a fit, he's ruined that for anybody in Nottingham who wants to get a police car for that film from this guy. So that's kind of how I see. And also, the guy who makes Squeak Like a Mouse quit and never wanted to make films, never wanted to work in films again. Because this guy has a way of making you think that how he was behaving is how the industry is, and it isn't. It genuinely isn't like that. There are arseholes, but there's that in every industry in the world. The majority, 99% of the people I've worked with in Nottingham have always been amazing, always been supportive. So yeah, it's just, you just need one person to be selfish or to be negative, and it sends ripples out that really affect everybody. So, like I say, I think you always have to bear in mind that you're part of a bigger thing. Yeah, so in terms of social action, I think I've probably covered all this, but yeah, like I say, you're asking for help from above, and you're trying to help below, and you're being a part of something bigger. The majority of the work in film and in writing in Nottingham is going to be for free, at this level at least, because there's just no money in the city. Like the creative projects that we make documentaries and short films. We usually use friends who we've worked with for a few years. But on the odd occasion you get other people, and I think you just have a responsibility to, I mean it seems obvious, but a lot of people don't do this, but just to take those expenses, treat people with respect, feed them, give them drinks, make sure they know they're appreciated. Because I think you have more responsibility when people are working you for free than you do them when they're being paid, because it's a very easy thing to feel like you're not being appreciated when you're not being paid. So I think another one of the biggest problems I'd say in the industry at the minute, this kind of point, is just that, yeah, when you're hiring people for free, you just need to treat them with respect. Also, with the burning bridges, there's a big kind of myth, I think, in writing and in film that if someone's treating you badly, you have to kind of put up with it, because that's just what the industry's like, and that's just, people are like that. But although that's true in some regards, in other regards it's not. I think people think, they just buy into that and use it as an excuse to treat people like shit. Whereas I personally say, if someone is treating you that badly and you don't like it, don't ever feel like you have to put up with anything like that, because anyone who, like, I've literally heard people shout like, you'll never work in this town again and things like that. It's just, no one owns the industry. No one, like, obviously reputation spread and stuff like that, but anyone who genuinely talks like that, no one's going to respect or listen to anyway. Yeah, so just everything you're doing when you're working, if you're making films, or if you want to make music, or work in the theatre, or write, I think you have to just embrace that you're a part of Nottingham's Nottingham's creative community, and try and strengthen it any way you can, and that's obviously what I try to do at Left Line.